A national emergency can't circumvent our Second Amendment, but don't tell that to Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Her hearing isn't so good when it comes to our rights.
Just think of what a president with different values can present to the American people. You want to talk about a national emergency? Let's talk about today, the one-year anniversary of another manifestation of the epidemic of gun violence in America. That's a national emergency. Why don't you declare that emergency, Mr. President? I wish you would. But a Democratic president can do that. A Democratic president can declare emergencies as well. So the precedent that the president is setting here is something that should be met with great unease and dismay.
You just heard Nancy Pelosi. You just heard her say, we'll declare martial law and take your guns. When since the 1976 change, which they always point to, there's been 37 declarations of emergency.
And while you're at it, steer clear of Democratic Representative Jerry Nadler.
If the president can declare an emergency today on this the Democratic president can decide that, as you mentioned, the 40,000 people a year killed in this country is a crisis, and why don't we take everybody's guns away, or force everybody to register their guns, or ban all assault rifles, or do all of that without congressional approval? I mean, this opens up tyranny or dictatorship.
Nadler telegraphs a tyranny of the Democrats making as a supposed consequence of President Trump's declaring a national emergency, ignoring the glaring fact that it was the majority of our republic that voted President Trump in to build the wall. National security is what the majority of the people want. Meanwhile, the spending bill that Pelosi and company authored is rife with loopholes that will cause immigrants, especially children, to suffer even harder as they make their way across the border. As Andrew Arthur, writing for the Center for Immigration Studies, discovered, despite assertions by Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi that women and children at the border are not a security threat, they are a humanitarian challenge, a challenge that President Trump's own cruel and counterproductive policies have only deepened. In fact, provisions in the recently passed spending bill will make Pelosi's humanitarian challenge even worse, at least as it applies to children. Congressional Democrats put language into an appropriation bill that both makes it more difficult for ICE to do its job of apprehending aliens illegally present in the United States, while at the same time providing greater incentives for parents and legal guardians to pay to place children in the hands of some of the most vile criminals on the face of the earth. Arthur goes on to report that he was told that smugglers would submerge smaller children, including infants and toddlers, into rivers and streams to get them past razor wire that otherwise prevents passage. Assuming that those children did not drown during this passage, those who are successfully retrieved on the U.S. side of the border often suffer lacerations and cuts from contact with the wire. Essentially, the Democrats claim to fight for the safety of immigrant children, yet create legislation crippling federal immigration departments, which in turn makes the United States government a co-conspirator in the criminal scheme between the smuggler and the parent guardian. The Democrats may be presenting the national emergency as an Orwellian dictatorship in the mainstream media bubble, but behind the scenes, they are beside themselves with glee when it comes to the idea of circumventing our Second Amendment in the name of the United Nations Small Arms Disarmament Agenda in favor of an inevitable socialist regime. John Bound reporting.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance.
Please remember, we are listeners supported. We don't get billions of dollars from the government or Silicon Valley or George Soros NGOs. We are supported by, thankfully, you. So please, go to InfoWarsStore.com and check out the highest quality nutraceuticals and supplements at InfoWarsStore.com.
Wars are like 12-round heavyweight boxing championship fights. It's about who wants it, who's prepared to go the longest, and who's ready to do the damage. We took on Hillary Clinton. We stopped her. We got a nationalist in. Nationalists are getting elected all over the world right now. We are winning. But those of us who are at the very front line, the tip of the spear, are under unprecedented attack. So I come to you each day and try to explain to you that this is a war of attrition. This is about who wants it most. And you know the persecution, the censorship, the sponsors they've taken, everything. I am in your hands. You are in my hands. I need financial support, and I got products you and your family need. It's that simple. Thousands of great products, whatever's award-winning, whatever's best-selling, what folks love, what I love, we bring it to you at InfoWarsStore.com. So please, go to InfoWarsStore.com today. Look at all the great products, because we're in your hands, I'm in your hands, and your support is beyond critical. Thank you.